Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Good. Welcome to this wonderful Youth to Israel Adventure reunion and celebration of our community leader and heroes. I'm Debbie Colton, President and Executive Director of Lappin Foundation, whose mission is enhancing Jewish identity across generations. And I'd like to begin by taking a moment to ask all of you to introduce yourselves to people sitting around you. Thank you, everyone. And there'll be plenty of time after the program that you can enjoy socializing and talking more with each other. I had the great privilege of traveling with the teens to Israel, affording me the opportunity to witness how the majesty and magic of Israel changed the teens in a multitude of ways. They flourished as individuals, their Jewish identity blossomed, new friendships grew and old friendships grew even stronger, and our community grew closer. Not only is this event a joyous reunion for the teens who traveled together on Y2Y, but it's an important opportunity to thank the donors who made Y2Y possible. Without the support of hundreds of donors to the Foundation's annual campaign, Y2Y would not be the vibrant program that it is. And speaking of supporters, on behalf of the Foundation, I want to extend a special welcome to Rabbi Mark Baker of CJP, which generally supports Y2I. Thank you so much. Yes. Another special thanks as well to the 2023 Y2I parents, to all of you, all of whom, 100%, donated all of or part of your refundable deposits back to the program for a total of more than $40,000. Please join me in a round of applause. Today's intergenerational program encapsulates the Jewish value of door to door, from generation to generation. The purpose of this program is to inspire generations, inspiring each other through their actions and words. Today's program serves as a teachable moment for the younger generation, our Y2I teens who are here today, to learn how the gift of Y2I is made possible. Teens, it doesn't just magically appear, nor is the money plucked from a Y2I money tree. The gift of Y2I is made possible by the money we raise for this beautiful tribute book, which I hope you got a copy at the desk. And this only happens when an individual lends their good name and sterling reputation to help raise money for Lappin Foundation and Y2I to remain operationally sound. Thank you, Bob Ogan, for stepping up to the plate and being that individual. I'm sure everyone will be inspired by the beautiful reflections written by the teens in the tribute book, and you can find them in the back of the tribute book. And you will be inspired for sure, and even awed, when you meet our honorees today, Bob Ogan, Dr. Hans Fischer, and Michael Gruenbaum of blessed memory. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. Is Maddie Goldman here? Maddie, come on up. Gus, you can sit there. I have your remarks. There you go. Nice and slow. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Right into the mic.
Good afternoon. My name is Maddie Goldman, and I live in Swampscott. Israel showed me the true diversity of Jewish life in an unimaginable way and offered me a new and valuable understanding of what it means to be Jewish. One of the most powerful aspects of being in Israel is the connection to the long history of the Jewish people. Walking through the old streets of Jerusalem and touching the Western Wall conveyed a profound sense of belonging and pride to my heritage. Meeting Jews from different backgrounds, experiencing various traditions, and witnessing different expressions of Judaism has enhanced my Jewish identity altogether. I was shown through all these experiences that my identity does not have to look identical to anyone else's, and that we are still connected through shared history and values. I'll forever hold this experience and its lessons with me. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Gus Cordingley, and I have had the pleasure of going to Israel due to the Lappin Foundations' generosity. The Israel trip for me was enlightening, as for the longest time I have felt disconnected from my Jewish identity. After our 12-day sojourn in Israel, I changed. I realized that there is more to being Jewish than just believing in religion. What I saw in the land of Israel was eye-opening. I saw the nation on full display, its people, its beauty, and its culture. I saw everyone openly expressing themselves how they please, such as the Hasidic Jews, as well as other people wearing their own cultural garb. Being Jewish is not only about the religion, but rather, being Jewish is about perseverance and will. The Jewish people have been faced with oppression and cruelty over time, but rather than suppress their ways and live out their lives, they exhibit their Jewish identity in the face of persecution. Before the trip, I had chosen to keep my identity a secret, to avoid any potential mistreatment because of it. But after the trip, I can proudly say I'm proud to be Jewish, proud to associate myself with the people of Israel, as I have seen firsthand what being Jewish really looks and feels like. This trip has changed my entire perception about the Jewish identity, and after a long time, I have finally made peace with that part of myself. Thank you. And it is my pleasure to welcome Rabbi Mark Baker, President and CEO of Combined Jewish Philanthropies, to the podium.
Beautiful work. Thank you so much. Wow. Don't follow Gus and Maddie. That's what I would say. First of all, it's great to be here with all of you. What an amazing turnout. And I know that it's both for the honorees, who we're so excited to celebrate, and because all of us appreciate so deeply the Lappin Foundation, the journey that it has sent all of you on, and the impact that it makes on the North Shore Jewish community. On a very personal note, I'll just say, for those that don't know, it is very tempting for me to be up here saying my bar mitzvah Dvar Torah, because this is exactly the spot from which I had my bar mitzvah just a few years ago. So it's really special to be back here and home in Temple Ner Tamid. I want to start on behalf of Combined Jewish Philanthropies and our entire community, and the Jewish Teen Initiative, which is such an essential part of what we do. I want to first of all say mazel tov to the honorees. Bob Ogan, you are a fierce champion for Israel and the Jewish people. I can't think of a better person to be celebrating today. Thank you for lending your name to this event and for all you do for CJP, for the North Shore, and for the entire Jewish community. Thank you, Bob, so much. And of course, to Michael Gruenbaum of blessed memory, and to Dr. Fisher, I would say on behalf of our community, and honestly on behalf of the entire Jewish people, thank you for sharing your life experience with every generation so that we can learn about the horrors of the Holocaust, but most importantly, so that we can play our role in educating every generation to come and making sure that it never happens again. Thank you for your really heroic leadership, and mazel tov on this award today. Thank you. I want to, on behalf of all of us, just express huge gratitude to the Lappin Foundation, to Debbie, to your staff, to everyone here who makes this work happen. First of all, the Lappin Foundation is an essential partner for CJP in so many ways. Number one, just in investing in vibrant Jewish life here on the North Shore. There's almost no aspect of Jewish life here that hasn't been touched by the Lappin Foundation. And as you said, Debbie, your North Star is our North Star, which is vibrant, dynamic, engaging Jewish life for every generation. And I don't think that the North Shore would be what it is if it were not for the Lappin Foundation. Thank you. And especially for your partnership and your deep commitment to Israel and your deep commitment to fighting anti-Semitism. Obviously, two critical issues in today's Jewish world, one of which is really like fighting the oi of Jewish life, which we have to do. As you said, we have to persevere, we have to be resilient, but also promoting the joy of Jewish life, which is reminding us that even when things are hard and complex, you go to Israel and you realize that it's just full of vibrancy and meaning and purpose and joy. And I think those are the North Stars of what the Lappin Foundation does, and they align so beautifully with CJP. And of course, all of this starts with our next generation. There's nothing more powerful than sending our next generation of teens to Israel. You all experienced it firsthand as the parent of several teenagers that have also spent meaningful time in Israel. There's just no substitute for seeing it and feeling it yourselves, and for, as you just told us, walking in the footsteps of your ancestors and playing your part and stepping up into your role in paving a new path for generations to come. So I want to just close by sharing a word with our teens, because really, you are the focus. To be honest with you, you're kind of the focus of all of Judaism. We're right in the middle of reading the book of Deuteronomy right now in the Torah cycle. And I will tell you that the anxiety that grown-ups feel about whether we will successfully transmit our culture, our values, our history to the next generation started 2,500 years ago. It started in the book of Deuteronomy, where the first next generation stood on the banks of the Jordan River about to go into the land of Israel. And the fundamental question of that entire book is, will this pass on? Will our children choose this? It's the question that we all ask ourselves, and that honestly, I get asked this every single day in my role as the head of CJP, which is nervousness about our next generation. Will they choose this? Will you find meaning and purpose in this? And to hear your words about your experience in Israel, and to see the experience that you had and the experience that Lappin has been giving teens for now over 40 years is a reminder to all of us that yes, you will indeed choose to be Jewish. Yes, you will find your own way into our tradition. It may be religion, it may be culture, it may be food, it may be Israel. Whatever it is for you, you will embrace it, and then you will pass it on to the next generation. Rabbi Dr. David Hartman said something really powerful about Judaism. He said that Judaism is unique among religions because it begins not with a leap of faith, but it begins with a leap of identity, a leap of identification with a people and its history. And I think that that is what the Wide Eye Trip is all about. For each of you to understand that you are part of something extraordinary, a 1,000-year-old story that is yours for the taking. And my charge and my blessing for all of you is that you step up, you stay connected, you keep deepening your knowledge and your learning so that you can go out into the world and educate others. And most importantly, that you remember that this is a relationship of love and of joy so that you can continue to walk through the world as proud Jews and to continue to make all of us proud. I am confident that our future is in good hands. So thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Adam Saragosa, and I live in Melrose. Out of all the activities and all the places we visited, my favorite part of the trip to Israel was probably Shabbat night in Jerusalem at the Western Wall. We had visited the wall the previous day, but on Shabbat it was such a different environment that it was unrecognizable. Seeing Jews from all over the world surrounding this sacred wall was truly a magical experience. Not only did I put a prayer in the wall for myself, but I delivered messages that my family requested from back home. After that, I escaped into the crowd, which led into one of the most wholesome nights I've ever been a part of. From Orthodox Jews reciting prayers to tourists singing and dancing, the crowd around the wall was so different yet unified all at the same time. One of the most important aspects of this trip was reaffirming my Jewish identity. Before this trip, I had not really done anything to enhance or showcase my religion since my bar mitzvah in 2019. While I still cared about my religion, I did not necessarily view it as an important part of my identity. I also did not understand most of the Israel-Palestine conflict and did not know how nor care enough to stand up for Israel. However, the Stand With Us workshops were very interesting for me, as I really enjoyed learning about the history of the conflict and the importance of Zionism. Overall, this trip was very important, fun, and educational, and I would definitely recommend it to other Jewish teens in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Quick history lesson, teens, and for adults who don't know this, but today's program was set in motion by the despicable actions of Bernie Madoff 15 years ago. Teens, you're much too young to even know who he was, but he pulled off what I believe is the largest Ponzi scheme in history, the theft of $64.8 billion. Included in the sum was more than $8 million that Mr. Lappin, Robert Lappin, of blessed memory, put aside for future generations for Y2I. Within hours of learning our money was gone, the foundation closed its doors, the staff was terminated, and Y2I was canceled. Thankfully, though, immediately an angel came forward and offered $100,000 to jumpstart fundraising for Y2I. David Letterman, of blessed memory, was that angel. And teens, because of his generosity and his actions all those years ago, followed by the actions and generosity of thousands of donors since then, you got to have your Y2I experience. Y2I has kept going through the generosity of donors to Lappin Foundation's annual campaign. It is essential that we raise upwards of $600,000 every year to fund every eligible teen who wants to go on Y2I. And central to our fundraising efforts is awarding the Youth to Israel Award to a hero among us, an individual who answers the call to help with Hineni, Here I Am. It is an honor to award Bob Ogan the 2023 Youth to Israel Award. Bob, would you join me on the bimmer, please? I still have more to say. I have more to say about this remarkable person. Because Bob, not only did you answer the call, Hineni, Here I Am, you followed up with a question we were never asked before. How can I help? How can I help make this happen and reach your goal? Your efforts are unprecedented, raising the bar for a successful campaign. Teens, who will you be in 50 years? Mr. Ogan was in your shoes 50 years ago. Like me, he was on the 1973 trip. 50 years ago was our Y2I experience. And when he reflected on his Y2I gift given to him by Mr. Lappin, he said, when you go to Israel, regardless of your mindset prior to going, you will come back a different person. You will be touched in some way, and my guess is in a way that you are not even looking for. What was true for Y2I then, for Bob and I then, is still true for Y2I today. At a young age, Bob Ogan developed an intense love for and unbreakable bond with Israel. His commitment to the Jewish people and to our community runs deep. Bob Ogan is the essence of what it means to be a Jewish hero, a dedicated family man, a successful businessman as president and CEO of Bacon Joy Foods, a community-minded individual whose heart and hands are open generously to give of himself, a fiercely proud Jew and a mensch. Bob, your quiet philanthropy changes lives, inspiring others to follow your lead. On behalf of Lappin Foundation, it's an honor and a privilege to present you with the 2023 Youth to Israel Award for your steadfast commitment and generosity to our Youth to Israel program to ensure its vitality. Oh, where is it? I'm not done.
Oh, you're not done?
Oh,
Debbie.
you can hold it. I'm not done. handmade print was selected especially for you because of its message and its nautical theme. The Nautilus is a great example of building upon what came before you, the never-ending chain of Tikkun Olam that gets pushed forward with every new generation. Thankfully, Bob, you answered the call in your generation. The saying here, up here in Hebrew, is from Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers. Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor v'lo ata ben chorin lebatel mimena. It is not your duty to finish the work, but neither are you at liberty to neglect it. Mazel tov, Bob, on receiving the 2023 Youth to Israel Award.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. In the words of Mark, I have to follow Gus, Maddie, Mark, Adam, and Debbie. I wouldn't wish it upon any of you. I think I have quite a task to follow. So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for being here for this very important event. I want to also thank, of course, all the supporters here of the Lappin Foundation. And I am especially excited and honored to be here to celebrate all of the 2023 and all of those between 1973 and 2023. It was interesting. I'm not very good at math, so when Debbie was talking about 50 years ago, I thought it was 25 years ago, and that I was 25 plus 16. So no, it doesn't work that way. I do see a few two pairs of mine out there. If you were on the trip, I'm just curious, if you were on the trip in 1973, please admit it and at least raise your hand. I'd love to see. I would, of course, also like to congratulate Dr. Hans Fischer and Michael Greenbaum of blessed memory. They will be receiving the Robert Israel Lappin Inspirational Leadership Award. And this award goes to these gentlemen who have educated thousands, as Mark said, of many generations about some very dark times in the Jewish history. So, I got a call, and the call was, would you like to be honored? And honestly, the first thought was, no, not really. A couple of reasons. One, as I thought about the Lappin Foundation and all that is done, to me it wasn't about honoring Bob Ogan. It was honoring you. And to be honored, I took the opportunity to say yes so that I could be in the position to go out and work and raise the funds for next year's. Now, the other reason why I didn't want to be honored, and this is a complete admission, okay, as you can see, I enjoy speaking to people. I enjoy being with people. But the admission is my mother used to joke with me and call me a crybaby. Yes, I am very emotional. And you know what? It feels quite good to share that with you. So I'm now fine. And I'm going to get through this with absolutely no problem. So thank you all for listening. The other reason why I did want to accept this was that the Lappins, and my dear friend Pito is out there. Mr. Lappin, please raise your hand. There. They have been, Peter and his family have been friends for well over 50 years. And I could share lots of stories, but I'm told I've got limited time this afternoon. But I could tell you many stories of the great Bob Lappin and Mimi and Peter's siblings, who I've known for a very, very long time. I'd also be remiss if I didn't thank a few people, because as I get into the depths of what I want to share with you today, I may forget. So Debbie Colton, Sarah Ovadia, relentless in what she does. I see you out there. And of course, my wife, Leslie, who's been there for many, many years, and as I would leave the house for decades to attend meetings and do other things for a community and for Israel. She was certainly a partner of mine, and thank you, honey. So, the Lappin Foundation, as you heard, is involved, and I know you may know this, but I'm going to say it again, because it was another major reason why I said yes. It is, of course, the Y to I program, Youth to Israel, sending youth to Israel for essentially very few dollars relative to the expense of the family. The second is the Jewish programs, the interfaith outreach, the work they do in anti-Semitism and in Jewish continuity. Now, our mission in 1973 was a little different. We went for 7 weeks. I understand you were there for about 12 days. There are some things that I vividly remember. Foremost, getting a 16-year-old up at 4 a.m. to do anything is something no 16-year-old will ever forget. Whether it was climbing Masada, which was something one would never forget, whether it was celebrating at the wall or crying at Yad Vashem. There were many times that being in Israel, the dots slowly came together. The dots of love of Israel, Judaism, spirituality, and being part of something much larger. It's quite a place, isn't it? Class of 2023. Everybody there is Jewish, so to speak, and it's safe. And I'm sure you had many visitors and discussions about innovation and how amazing Israel is. Technology, science, agriculture. Now, I was very fortunate to be able to go back to Israel. And I've been there many times. And it's something else to go out into the desert in 1973 and then see a city with running water. It's just unbelievable when you really think about it. And it continues. Now, one of the things I wanted to share was, and I have partially, is my journey. I didn't wake up one day and say, gee, it would be nice, to give a few dollars and spend my time helping community. A dear friend of mine who happens to be here today, I was thinking about this last night. I think the dog woke us up somewhere around 2 o'clock in the morning. And with this day coming, it wasn't easy to get back to sleep. But I had talked to a friend of mine, again, who's here, and he happens to be a comedian. And he does this great joke about we're born, and we're born with an empty dumpster. Some of you are saying, what is he talking about, empty dumpster? Well, the dumpster is let's just call it, from my perspective, if I can, hopefully this isn't trademarked, it's your values, it's your character, it's the essence of who you are. And he uses analogy, when a 2-year-old can't find their shoes, it's no big deal. But when an adult can't find their shoes, it's a little different. And wait till you're 40 years old and you can't find your shoes. The things that come out are quite different than a 2-year-old. And the point is that as we go through life, we build our character. And each one of you have had, as I listen to you, the many speakers thus far, your trip has brought many aspects of who you are to the front of your personality, your Judaism, and your spirituality. So, I have to bring in my dad. So, I grew up in a house of certainly tzedakah, charitable giving, and certainly tikkun olam, repair of the world, make it better, do something about it. In the Jewish religion, it is often thought the world is a wonderful place, but in many senses, there needs to be repaired. And those values in my home were there consistently. One of the most trying times after my trip to Israel in 1973 was the Yom Kippur War. And I'll never forget my dad and so many community leaders coming together to raise money for Israel. Having just been there for the summer, it was, even though I was 16, 17 years old, it was a very trying time because I thought about all those young people I had met. I'm sure some of you remember when you landed in Tel Aviv and you got off your plane and you walked on to the gate, and what's the first thing you saw? You saw someone not much older than you holding a machine gun. How did that make you feel? What'd you think of? I remember a Saturday night dance in a bomb shelter. So, that war was certainly a very trying time and an emotional time for so many. So there were parlor meetings, and there were more meetings for community and whatever needs that arose through many difficult, opportunistic, and challenging times for both Israel and the community. And in the house, it was learned about appreciation, humility, respect, caring, and those were the values. I could share with you lots and lots of stories about my father and my mother, who was very supportive of the role of giving. But I'll share just two very short ones. The first one was we built a building in 1987, and that was in North Andover. And we found out not very long after going in the building, my father walked in, he said, "Do you know they can't afford a football team here in North Andover?" And I looked at him and I said, "Here we are in a building, first year, trying to make a living, and what is he thinking about? The football team." And I said, "What are you going to do?" He said, "We're going to play football." So he called, I don't know who he called. He didn't call the governor, but I know he called City Hall, he called the school. The bottom line is they played football in North Andover that year. The other thing is, he noticed one day that we were throwing lots of things out in our lab. I won't go into our business. We're in the baking industry. And it was through this that he made the decision to feed 250 senior citizens in the Merrimack Valley each and every day. Very two short anecdotes about my dad. So, there was many times that I went to Israel through CJP that followed the Y2I trip, and two of them, one was the interfaith trip with Lenny Zakem and so many other people where we went to Israel and Rome, and one of my last trips was a CJ trip in 2018. And it was that trip that I want to share with you that we met with 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 22-year-olds. They were part of the Brothers for Life group. This is a group of young men, young adults who fought for the IDF, and they sadly had lost either limbs or were suffering from PTSD. And we sat, we talked, we danced, we ate, and we cried together. So let's shake all this up. Why do I in 73? Multiple trips, a family and a mentor of giving. By the way, I have a sister and a brother of blessed memory, and there is a thread amongst all three of us of caring and giving back to community, and there always will be. So you take it, you shake it up, and it brings with it Jewish values, brings with it community, it brings with it a commitment to make a difference in the world. I believe that these seeds were planted for me, and that I have a responsibility, as does my family, to do what we can each and every day for community, Israel, and those in need, both in the Jewish world and outside of the Jewish world. I'd like to thank all of you parents for allowing your child to go to Israel. It will make a difference in their lives. It will make a difference in your life. But I can't honestly tell you you'll know quite yet. It will take time. They're just starting their journeys. So I say to the teens, the choice is yours. Make a difference. If you can, give your time. And in your future, give financially if you're able. Follow your heart. Speak of community. Support Israel. Survival of Israel is critical. Make no mistake that life for American Jewry and Jews worldwide would be severely impacted if Israel did not exist. I look at all of you today as the future leaders of tomorrow. In closing, I agreed to be honored for many reasons which I shared for you. So my commitment to you is to do the same that I've been doing and to continue the path that my parents and other community leaders gifted to my generation. The Bob Lappins of the world. A gift of caring, appreciation, respect, and love. Love of Israel, the Jewish Holy Land. All I ask of all of you young teenagers is to do your best to pave the way for the generations that will follow you. My dream is to take my kids there, grandchildren, and extended family to Israel. That will come one day. Thank you, everybody.
Leslie, I just have a quick word for you because I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you. Had Merrill Frost, and you probably don't know who Merrill Frost was, but Merrill Frost was voted the most courageous athlete in 1945. And had Merrill Frost met you, Leslie, he coined a famous phrase, and it was, behind every great man, there's a great woman. But had he met you, it would have been, beside every great man is a great woman. Leslie, thank you so much for all you did alongside Bob to ensure the success of our annual campaign. We are truly grateful for your efforts and your interest all these months too. Thank you, Leslie.
Good afternoon. My name is Justin Saganor, and I'm from Boxford. What really impacted me on Why Do I was our visit to Yad Vashem, Israel's Holocaust Memorial Museum. The room that moved me the most was the Hall of Names, the last room in the museum. You're on a platform in the middle of a tall, circular room. In the middle of the room is a reflecting pool, surrounded by limestone. Stretching all the way up and down the walls are shelves and shelves of black binders, each of which contains one-page remembrance sheets of Jews who died in the Holocaust that include their dreams and hobbies, fears and secrets, and, if possible, a photo. The bodies of those killed in the Holocaust were not given a proper burial. They were burned to ashes or thrown into huge pits and left to rot. The Hall of Names does not contain the bodies of the victims of the Holocaust, but it does contain their souls. Standing in that room, you are surrounded by the essence of every known Jew that had their life taken prematurely during the Holocaust. It's a powerful, moving space, and inside of it, I cried. I do not cry often, but in the Hall of Names, I shed tears. It's an experience I will never forget. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Nathaniel Ross, and I live in Needham. My recent journey to Israel touched me in ways I could have never imagined. As I walked across the sacred land, a profound spiritual awakening washed over me, reinforcing the significance of staying Jewish. In a way, while in Israel, the historical and spiritual home of the Jewish people, it felt like coming home. The connection to my roots, the thousands of years of history that shaped our Jewish identity, left me in awe. It wasn't just about the physical location, but the sense of belonging and unity I experienced with fellow Jews from diverse backgrounds. I felt accepted there in ways I did not expect. While in Israel, I witnessed the beauty of Judaism's diverse expressions. The spectrum of beliefs and practices showcase our heritage and the freedom we have to shape our own relationship with Judaism. It taught me that staying Jewish is about embracing the uniqueness of my journey while cherishing the common thread that binds us all. One of the most profound moments was visiting Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Memorial. Visiting Yad Vashem was a powerful experience, reminding me to honor the past and carry on its lessons. I now understand that staying Jewish is about honoring their stories and ensuring that their legacy lives on. On this journey, I realized that staying Jewish doesn't require a physical presence in Israel. It's about carrying the lessons and experiences with me wherever life takes me. Engaging with our Jewish traditions, studying our history, and being an active part of the community are how I nurture and grow my Jewish identity. Thank you.
Justin and Nathaniel, your remarks about Yad Vashem remind us that Israel is that safe haven, a refuge for Jews wherever they may be in the world, a place worth fighting for, a home to cherish, as Bob said. It's not surprising that what you witnessed at Yad Vashem was one of the most powerful moments of the Why Do I experience for both of you. Few will argue that the Holocaust was humanity's darkest hour, a time when a civilization returned to barbarism. With the slaughter of more than 6 million Jewish people, including 1.5 million Jewish children. And as painful as it is, the incomprehensible must be remembered and be retold, its lessons passed from one generation to the next, to ensure they endure for the sake of humanity. So here we stand at the threshold of time, when soon there will no longer be survivors alive to bear witness to the Holocaust, leaving the responsibility on us to do so. Our two honorees for the Robert Israel Lappin Inspirational Leadership Award, Dr. Hans Fischer and Michael Gruenbaum of blessed memory, have devoted themselves in selfless ways to ensure the memories of the Holocaust are preserved and its lessons are passed on to you and to future generations. Like the award's namesake, Robert Lappin, these two men defy their age and live out the sunset of their lives with meaning and purpose as active leaders in Lappin Foundations Holocaust Symposium for students, sharing their experience with thousands of students over the past few years. Both Michael and Hans pivoted effortlessly and seamlessly to teaching on Zoom when in-person presentations were not possible. And so what a privilege and what a blessing it was for thousands of individuals to hear testimony from Michael and Hans. Sadly, Michael Gruenbaum, who was imprisoned in Terezin for 2.5 years as an older child, sadly he passed away suddenly earlier this year at the age of 93. And he was so looking forward to being here today alongside you, Hans. Right until the day he passed away, Michael and I taught side by side. Our last 2 sessions together were truly special. The day before he passed away, he gave testimony to Salem High School students in the morning on Zoom, took a couple hours off, went back on Zoom with the Jewish community of Stockholm, Sweden. Imagine telling and retelling, living and reliving what happened to you and your family during the Holocaust. Michael did it with conviction and compassion, each telling as precious as all the previous ones, and each ending with a lesson and message to students to find ways to use the lessons of the Holocaust to fix what's broken in the world. And I invite all of you to learn more about Michael Gruenbaum and his life. You can view the animated video he thankfully made for us before he passed away. It's on Lappin Foundation's website, and it's called The Teddy Bear. And you can also read his book, Somewhere There Is a Sun. Please join me in a round of applause for Michael Gruenbaum, a true inspirational leader. And Hans, I invite you to the bima now with your granddaughter. Oh, you're right here, great. I'm gonna let you hold this for him and I'm gonna have him come up in the middle to me. Stand by, Sarah, if I can't do this. Come. Dr. Hans Fischer. Hans was born in Breslau, Germany in 1928. escaping Nazi Germany on the ill-fated voyage of the MS St. Louis. Hans is so generous with his time, and like our honoree Bob Ogan, answering my calls with Hineni, I am here, week after week, month after month, telling and retelling his harrowing story of escape. With so few survivors alive to keep doing this important work, Hans does not stop. Hans, your presentations bring the listener back in time to Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, with your remarkable recollection and detail of the destruction and fear that gripped your family and the Jews of Germany. And from there, you take us on your journey, sharing your personal experience from being a refugee to an immigrant to an American citizen. Several voyages, and 2 years later, Hans, along with his mother and sister, reunited with his father in Cuba, eventually settling in New Jersey. Hans went on to live an accomplished life, becoming a professor at Rutgers University for more than half a century and serving as chair of the Department of Nutritional Sciences during most of his tenure there. And teens, I want to tell you something else. This man who came over as a teenager, who did not know English, didn't have school, missed years and years of school. He graduated valedictorian of his high school class in New Jersey. Hans is known as a trailblazer whose accomplishments include important discoveries about the role of diet in the metabolism of alcohol, neurochemical changes that occur during addiction, and how those changes might be ameliorated with drugs. He was also a pioneer in finding ways to control cholesterol and heart disease, and in leaking tryptophan, this is important, an amino acid, and serotonin, a neurotransmitter, with behavior, a discovery that has led to improved treatments for both schizophrenia and alcoholism. Hans, what a great Jewish achiever you are. Hans's message to the students at the conclusion of each of his testimonies is so important, a message we all need to heed, especially during these challenging times. Hans challenges the younger generation to not be silent about anti-Semitism, hatred, and intolerance, urging them to speak up and stand up and not be a bystander. Hans, your granddaughter is here, and she's going to present the award to you from us. And it's such a great honor, Hans, to present you with Lappin Foundations 2023 Robert Israel Lappin Inspirational Leadership Award.
My connection to this area of Massachusetts goes back to the Six-Day War in 1967. Right before the war broke out, there was a Zionist organization at many American universities called ISFA, Intercollegiate Zionist Federation of America. And I got a phone call a few days before the Six-Day War started, asking me to get signatures from the faculty at Rutgers University for an ad in the New York Herald Tribune, which was an important newspaper at the time, to show support for Israel. I started calling, and I got a certain number of faculty to agree to have their name publicized in the newspaper supporting Israel. But there were also a fair number of both Jewish and non-Jewish faculty who hedged and who did not come right out and say, go ahead, use my name and sign it. Several days later, the war broke out. The Israelis destroyed the Egyptian Air Force, and on the following day, our ad, the ad from the faculties by ISFA, appeared in the New York Herald Tribune, and you cannot imagine or believe what happened next. My telephone rang continuously, and the faculty that had hedged was on there and said, why didn't you put my name on the list? I most certainly wanted to support Israel. I said, well, you didn't make any convincing statement to me. My connection to this area was that a Protestant Christian organization had placed a very, very pro-Israel ad also in the New York Herald Tribune. And I had called a friend in this area and asked him if he could ask this organization if they would permit me to use their statement so that I could pass it on to the Rutgers faculty. And they agreed to that. That was my connection. Fast forward to 2010, when my wife and I moved to this area, to Newton. I must admit, I was a bit shocked and hurt when I learned about some of the things that were anti-Israel, that were anti-Semitic in the Newton school system. And so when Debbie Colton called me and asked me if I would speak to students in various schools in this area, I thought this was a wonderful opportunity to speak to these students representing the next generation and to tell them what I knew, what had happened. Not so much that I was so greatly involved. I was lucky in that I was never in a concentration camp. But the next best thing, or the next worst thing, I was with many, many Jewish people who had been or who were in camps in France where I ended up before being able to get out of Europe. And so I was extremely glad to have had this opportunity that Debbie Colton had provided for me. And as she indicated to you, I spoke to many, many classes in schools, and I have received many letters and communications from individual students, none of whom I knew before, or whom I really know now, thanking me for making this information available and, in a way, giving them an opportunity to learn what really happened and how it impacts on them as well as on those who survived and were lucky enough to do so. So, thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Lappin Foundation. And I am very, very happy to have had this opportunity, and I hope that I will be able to continue to do this for as long as possible. Thank you.
Hans doesn't know it yet, but he has a very busy schedule this fall. Ilona?
Good afternoon. My name is Ilona Lynn, and I'm from Newburyport. Y2I impacted my life by showing me I was an important part of a community. Growing up in a small town with a tiny Jewish population was lonely. Mostly when winter came around, I was reminded how my traditions and heritage were different than others. I wasn't going to chop down Christmas trees or sitting by a fire singing carols like my peers were. As a kid, being different only makes you feel like you don't belong, so when I started to grow up, I learned how to be more comfortable with this. I started to accept that kids in my school weren't going to understand why I was absent on high holidays, why I was at synagogue on Tuesdays and Saturdays, or why I didn't believe in Santa Claus. I felt as if nobody but my few friends at my local synagogue would be able to understand me. Everything changed when I went on Y2I. The first couple of days were definitely an adjustment. I found it so hard to believe that there were other kids in my area who shared the same beliefs and traditions as me. As time went by and everyone got closer, I started to feel like I was really part of something. I had met so many people and created a family. I will never forget so many joyous memories I shared with all my new friends and all the wonderful experiences I had. I'm so grateful for the opportunity I was given, and I will truly cherish this for the rest of my life. I know now that I am not alone.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eugene Schultz, and I'm the Director of Teen Engagement here at Lappin. You did not come to hear me speak, so I promise my remarks will be short. We are so thrilled to have you here today to celebrate the incredible journey and experiences you've had during your Y2I adventure trip. As you step back onto familiar ground, we want to remind you that your journey with us doesn't end here. It's just the beginning of a world of opportunities waiting for you. We're excited to let you know about a range of upcoming free programs designed with your growth and empowerment in mind. These programs are not just about having fun, although that's a big part of it, but they are also about enriching your journey as future leaders and community contributors. Here's what you can look forward to. First, the benefits. Participating in these programs will increase your knowledge, help you develop essential skills, expand your social network, and even add value to your resumes. These are experiences that will set you apart and open doors in the future. We're particularly thrilled to highlight 3 initiatives. First is Telling Your Israeli Story Workshop, where you'll learn to share your unique experiences in a powerful way, building connections through your personal narrative. Our Teen Anti-Semitism Task Force, where you can contribute to meaningful conversations and actions against prejudice in your schools and lives. And lastly, the upcoming Leaders for Tomorrow program, in partnership with the American Jewish Committee, that empowers you to be change makers and advocates for the Jewish people and Israel. Remember, the best ambassadors for Y2I Adventure are you, the participants themselves. If you know of people who would be interested, talk the trip up and encourage your friends and family to apply for the 2024 trip. Your enthusiasm and stories are the heart of what makes the journey so incredible. Also, don't forget to stay connected with us through our social media. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Spotify, where we have new upcoming playlists, to stay up to date with our latest photo and news. We're always sharing updates, photos, and news on our platforms, so please do follow us and make sure you're sharing your own experiences as well. And here's a sneak peek. We have an excited contest coming up that ties into our Telling Your Israeli Story program, so keep an eye out for more details. We urge you to take the next steps by registering for these opportunities as soon as possible. The sooner you sign up, the sooner you become part of something incredible, so don't miss out. Thank you all for being part of Y2I, and remember, the journey continues here. Welcome home.
And while Leora Ragozin and Lila Nagel come up, teens, I just want to tell you, at the front table is the whole calendar of programs with the QR codes. You just have to register. So teens, grab one on your way out, and you will see the whole year right there. Leora.
I'm Leora Ragozin, and I'm from Swampscott. To begin, it is an honor to be speaking here at this event honoring Bob Ogan, Dr. Hans Fischer, and Michael Gruenbaum of blessed memory. Before visiting Israel, I knew I was a Zionist. I believed in the state of Israel and supported its right to exist. But I had limited knowledge of why I felt this way and how to express my opinion to people who felt differently. As part of this summer's Y2I experience, Charlotte from Stand With Us spoke to our group one evening. From the moment she began her presentation, she captured my attention. She went back over 2,000 years, and within 2 hours, I had learned the history of the land of Israel. In the beginning, I was confused why she was giving us a history lesson. Yet by the end, I understood that to support Israel and understand its importance, one must learn its history. Our history with this land is complex, but Charlotte boiled it down to 4 distinct eras. 1, the Jews lived in Israel, and after that, they faced exile and left Israel. After that, around the world, they again faced discrimination and ultimately genocide. Yet with the Zionist movement, which is the belief that Jews have the right to return to the land of Israel, Jews began to return to their native homeland. So to respond to those who say we are settlers, the facts state that Jews are historically native to the land of Israel. When they were forced to flee, other groups took over the land. The biggest issue today is when Jews returned, there were people there. Still today, this is a major conflict to which I do not know the solution. However, on this trip, I have truly learned the importance of a Jewish homeland. Charlotte taught us the tools to teach the rest of the world, which is largely misinformed, about the authentic history of Israel. So when I come across someone who is anti-Israel and questions the right to the Jewish state, I will calmly tell them our history in 4 steps. First, we are native to Israel. Second, we were kicked out and spread across the world. Third, we faced persecution, pogroms, and the Holocaust, which was the catalyst for the establishment of a haven for Jews. And fourth and finally, we returned home to be able to celebrate our religion and culture in a safe place. And this is why we need the state of Israel. This is why I am a Zionist. Thank you.
Okay, wow. All right. I don't know if I can beat that, but... All right, good afternoon. My name is Lila Nagel, and I live in Marblehead. Since becoming a bat mitzvah, I've continually questioned my Jewish identity. Despite being born into Judaism, growing up in a synagogue, and graduating from confirmation, I saw myself as a poser and a fraud. I didn't understand Hebrew, I forgot the stories to our holidays, and I didn't always keep kosher. Being forgetful was humiliating. Even if I was not judged outright, I judged myself even harsher. Was I even a real Jew? If I didn't do this or that, could I still wear the Star of David with pride? The Why Do I trip was an entirely new experience for me. All my life, visiting Israel was not even a question, it was a must. But the trip felt so far away, something I could only dream of. When my dreams finally turned into reality, it was totally surreal. Something unexpected that I noticed was the stark contrast of religious practices inside one singular religion. No two people were the same. No one believed the same, practiced the same, observed the same. Moreover, I felt accepted for my way of Judaism. I didn't have to know Hebrew, but I picked up nonetheless. I didn't need to know all the stories because someone was always there to remind me. I didn't need to keep kosher because it did not fit my lifestyle. My passion was good enough, strong enough. For once, my identity was not questioned. This is what Why Do I did for me. Thank you.
And thank you to all the readers who shared your reflections. I wish we had time so you could hear all 80 plus of them. They're amazing. They're in the back of the tribute book. Please take the time to read them. But before we wrap up, I do want to say a word of thanks to the Lappin Foundation staff and the Why Do I staff for all the hard work you did to make this 2023 Why Do I life-changing and the incredible adventure that it was. Teens, please hold your applause until I finish saying all the names, okay? To the Why Do I counselors, thank you, working 24/7 for 12 days to keep our team safe and engaged. Eugene Schultz, Reese Kluser, Kerry Skickney, Jillian Pergamin, Emma Mayer, Bob Comito, Jessica Greenbaum, Melissa Gold, Shane Skickney, Rachel Ellis, Ben Alvarez Dauberson, Yaniv Habusha, Lauren Makovsky, and our whole team in Israel that worked so hard for this. Now you guys can thank them. And to my colleagues at Lappin Foundation, thank you so much for the hard work you do day in and day out all year long to make Lappin Foundation the great success that it is, and to ensure that we have everything we need for our Why Do I adventure. Hold your applause, please, until I get through all the names. Sharon Weiner, Sarah Ovadia, Susan Feinstein, Eugene Schultz, Jody Coburn, Lynn Krasker-Schultz, and Rachel Lefebvre. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Again, I wish Mazal Tov to our honorees, Bob Ogan, Hans Fischer, and Michael Gruenbaum, and my thanks to the teens who shared your reflections with us today. And as I said, you can read them. To all the Why Do I teens who came, parents, guests, donors, community leaders. Thank you for coming here and celebrating with us and honoring our community heroes. Please, everyone, join me in the social hall for dessert. Thank you.